like to do today is basically get you into a mindset. And it's not a new mindset, but I think as it pertains to instructional systems design, it might be new. At least going through the systemic process of developing instruction and seeing the similarities between salespeople and instructors. I think we have a lot to learn if we are person-to-person instructors, if we're doing tutoring, if we're doing small groups, if we're doing classwork, if we're doing large group presentations, if we're doing online teaching. I think we have a lot to learn from sales. So that's what I would like to get across today. Instructional systems design is a good approach for looking at that as a filter, and then at the end we'll talk through some future applications. All right. Notwithstanding Mr. Bull's distinction between sex education and sex training, remember that from the keynote? Okay. When it comes to creating these materials, I kind of treat it all the same because we get there the same way. So teaching materials, instruction materials, training materials, education materials, we're all kind of talking about the same thing. And what you're using it for is just a matter of context, okay? So I'm using it interchangeably. And by the way, please don't be offended or anything if I keep saying salesman or salesmanship. If I call this education as salespersonship, it doesn't quite flow. So I might say salesman or salesmanship. All right. Now, I want you to chew on that for a little bit while we pass out some clickers. Now, these are not free. They are on loan to me for this presentation from Turning Technologies, and they were very nice about doing that. Thank you very much. Okay. And we'll use these a little bit later on. You'll know when to use them. Okay? Has anybody used these before, the clickers? Okay, or they have a fancier name for them. Yeah. Or you just, I guess, pass it. Yeah. All right, so when the time comes, we're going to be using these. And by the way, a lot of what I've covered today isn't very high-end technology, may not be cutting-edge technology, but I think if we combine the technology that's available to us today with the mindset of salesmanship, I think we're going to get a lot done. Now, if you just think about it for a little while, back in 20 years ago, who were the people that were using videos and the web and all of that to get their messaging out? Okay, about 20 years ago, 20, 25 years ago, it were people who were trying to sell you stuff. Okay, but now with the technology that's available today and the low cost of producing videos and all of that, now we have the ability as instructors and instructional designers to get our messaging out as well. Now, speaking of instructional materials, is that familiar to anybody? Okay, so we take, this is especially familiar to us in our organization, we take all these legal documents, policy guides, and say, hey, we have PowerPoint. Let's just copy and paste, and then we just go through them. Well, today we have something called a learning management system, so what do we do with these PowerPoint slides? We put the PowerPoint slides as web-based training modules, so people can click through all that text, right? And that's what we do. And if you like, then by the way, I'll just mention it right here. If you like this kind of cartoon, you'll notice the name right here. That's me. Actually, I drew this last night, and I put it up, so it's not in the proceedings. I apologize for that. But if you go here to facebook.com/fedscomic, you can download all of them that you want. Okay, all the characters there. It's kind of an experiment for me that I'll get to later on. All right. Knowledge and skills, what do we do with them? We package them. It's all about the packaging, and it's all about the pitch, right? I mean, that's why we make decisions to change our behavior and buy stuff. And if I'm looking through some papers here, is because this morning as I was meeting people and I was thinking about stuff, I wrote some other notes that I definitely don't want to miss. So I am going to refer to my notes here every once in a while. Okay, I think we're on track. So it's about the pitch, it's about the packaging. Where are we going wrong? Just like what we were just talking about, that was illustrated. We're just throwing technology. We're not going back to the basics of good instructional systems design and using technology to enable us to go through these phases of instructional systems design. And for me, I use the ADDIE method. Anybody else? ADDIE? Okay, good. That'll be familiar to you. But as we're going through the ADDIE model, I want us to think about, okay, how would a salesman conduct analysis? How would a salesman design the sales plan, etc., etc.? Okay, we're going to be selecting technology accordingly. All right, here's one ADDIE model. My favorite way of explaining the ADDIE model is that of a bridge. Some people use a house analogy, but I believe that if you have current behavior and you have ideal behavior and you have a gap between what people are doing and what they should be doing, that gap is called the knowledge gap, right? And to get from here to here, we're building a bridge, all right? So, if we're building a bridge using instructional systems design, the first thing we do is analysis. Then we ask some questions about why we're doing it, if we need to do it in the first place. We're going to get into this in more detail. We design some blueprints. Okay, we start thinking about how we're going to do this. We develop the pieces for making the bridge. We put it all together. We start building the bridge. We open the bridge for business during implementation. Let people go over it. We take notes. Okay, is the bridge shaking as people are going through? And then we evaluate. We inspect the bridge afterwards, see if there's anything broken, see if it needs to be widened because of the traffic or whatever. Okay, does that make sense? That's kind of a whirlwind explanation of that. Some people believe it's kind of, there's these discrete phases and they kind of follow each other like this. Some people have this model where we have the phases out here, but they all kind of interact with evaluation. You always have to bring in evaluation to inform your decisions on how you conduct your analysis or design, etc. Okay? This is what I believe it's like. Okay? It's kind of muddled. It's very convenient to kind of put a box around certain activities and call it something, but there is some gray area, there is some overlap, and just you know, I wouldn't get married to, well, this has to occur in this phase and only this phase, and we're beyond that phase now. And I wouldn't do that. Salespeople certainly don't do that. All right, let's go into analysis. The first thing we need to do is know the audience. Okay? Now, I didn't have a chance to investigate the audience for this presentation. There's only one person in this presentation that I knew was going to be here, and that's Mr. Barton in the back. Okay? So I didn't really get a chance to know my audience, didn't do a lot of market research or anything. But let me ask you this. When a salesman is in your living room and the salesperson is showing you swaths of, you know, cloths for draperies or something like that, or flooring or whatever it is, and you go and you go into the kitchen and give him some iced tea. He's looking around your house, right? What's he doing? Casing. could be casing it. You know, we'll come back a little bit later on, surreptitiously.
But he's assessing your needs.
What's that?
Assessing your needs.
Yeah, he's assessing your needs, and he's really at the very beginning trying to make a connection.
Yeah.
Right? He's looking around. Oh, you got some pottery over there. Hey, that looks Mexican. Is that from Mexico? Oh, really? Well, my third cousin's wife's blah, blah, blah. It just came from Mexico, and they went to Cancun, and they loved it, blah, blah, blah. So they're trying to make this connection. When I was in Albania, I teach for the Defense Threat Reduction Agency International Counterproliferation Program. I teach cyber investigations, some kind of low-level cyber investigations, because in the FBI, I'm a computer forensics examiner. I used to be unit chief at the FBI Academy supervising instructors, but you know, the FBI is one of these places you can go to one place to another, get a lot of different experiences. Right now I examine computer systems for criminals and terrorists. So I went to Albania to teach them, and anybody here from Albania? Anybody know anything about Albania? I didn't know anything about Albania. Have you ever heard of Skanderbeg? Scanderbeg, anybody Scanderbeg? Okay, I didn't know either, but I knew I was preparing to go to Albania, and I was like, okay, I don't know anybody who's going to be in my classroom, and but how can I connect to these people? So I did some research in Albania, and I found out this guy named Scanderbeg was their national hero. And Scanderbeg and he's unusual in that he was a warrior and led battles well into his 60s and 70s. I mean, he's a very kick-butt guy, all right? And he's credited, really, in history for keeping out the Ottoman Empire from the rest of Europe. They were halted right there in Albania, and which allowed the Renaissance to occur. And so they were really, really proud of him. And so I said, okay, I got to find a way to bring this in. And so I'm teaching IP packets, if you know what that is. And I said, well, an IP, you know, a packet is like an envelope. You have a sending address and a return address, and oh, by the way, and I showed him an envelope, and I drew a little stamp there, and here's Mr. Scanderbeg, and the national stamp there's his sword, and everybody went, oh, wow. Yeah, it was this American that knows our national hero, and they came to me during the break and say, oh, if you're interested in Scanderbeg, there's a museum right outside of town. And, oh, you think I had those people eating out of my hand?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Connection. I've supervised some instructors that are very, very good at finding a connection with their students. But that's really key. One of the things that technology helps us is doing some social media. You know, like for example, for Mr. Barton, I knew he was going to be here. I know that he has a LinkedIn page. I didn't go look at it because I didn't want to tip him off. But I know he at least used to work for Harper's Ferry in West Virginia. I saw a brochure that had his name on it, Harper's Ferry. So I could have, you know, started making connections that way. No, it's not creepy. No, you're not stalking. This is called social engineering. It's trying to get you to know your students. If you have the ability to to tell your students ahead of time, hey, go to the survey and take the survey and let me know what, you know, something about yourself, or you can post something to a discussion board if it's an online course, something like that. Try to get some information about the people that you're speaking to. And by doing that, you're going to get to know the need. Absolutely. Okay? The more you know about them, the more you're going to know about what they need. And that's during this analysis too. The needs assessment, which is that knowledge gap. The task analysis, breaking that down into the steps that's needed to get there. And you can also assess their needs through a student survey. So